Welcome to the 8 Billion Project, where we're on a mission to make an impact by discovering and sharing the purpose of every person on this planet. I'm your host, Liza Florida. Enjoy today's episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 8 Billion Podcast. I am your host, Liza Florida, and today we have a special guest. Rhadem Musawah is a Moro documentary filmmaker, human rights activist, and film festival organizer from Zamboanga City, Mindanao. He's also a member of the PhilSalat Association, a member of the Philippine Olympic Committee Changemaker, alumni of Thomas Reuters Foundation, core member of Vote Pilipinas under Impact Hub Manila, creative director of and consultant for various programs of government agencies and international organizations such as the UN. But moreover, this man is an amazing soul and is going to make a big impact in this world. So welcome, Rhadem, to 8 Billion. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, Liza. Thank you for having me on your show and for the 8 Billion podcast. I'm really glad to be on this show, and I'm so excited on what awaits with this conversation.
I know we did have a little bit of a conversation before, but since we're friends, and I did meet you through a very good friend, and we covered so many things. However, there is one big thing that's happened in that time. I think right when we interviewed, you had just received the email that In Paglayag has made it to the Manhattan Film Festival. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I'm actually excited about it, and the awarding will be on. It will be next week. So let's hope it would. I hope that it would gain more interest of the people. At the same time, of course, if I'm going to win, it will be a bonus.
Yes, and definitely after we've talked about this before, right? After everything that's happened. I would say many of us globally, it would be a nice way to end off the year, since this year was quite a ride.
With all this pandemic drama, I mean, it will be a really best reward and a big, bang to end 2020. And hopefully 2021 will be a good year for us. Hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. To be honest with you, the second half of the year was the year that everything started happening for me, and I used the first half of the year to really turn in and get clear with myself. And then again, I had no clue that I was going to live stream and then it would move into a podcast, but I've met so many wonderful people and you're one of them. So I'm so happy to actually have you on 8 Billion. Yes. Well, could you tell us a little bit more about In Paglayag? So for those that would like to actually learn more about the documentary film.
The documentary film, I actually started filming it 2 years ago, and I've been coming back and forth in the north and southern part of the Philippines and as well as China. And it was very close to home because it's the history of my ethno-linguistic group. If I grew up here in the Philippines, where most of our government textbooks, when they talk about indigenous people, they actually stereotype or box us in this image that we are savages, that we are tribal or whatsoever. But before the Spanish colonial power came, there was already a government under the Sultan of Sulu, and that was one of the power hub in Southeast Asia at that time during the early 1200s and 1400s. And In Paglayag sort of talks about what it was back then and what happened along the process, why it became what it is now. So it's just good that to have this information available in the international community so that so that they would know that the Philippines is more than just about adobo. The Philippines is more than just, halo
Lumpia and
halo
pancit.
and the pancit and the lumpia. And we have a really nice historical culture, but apparently because of the colonial powers, this part of history were erased. It was erased, and I hope that the film will shed a light on that.
Yes, no, absolutely. I'm going to see if I can insert a trailer of In Paglayan into this podcast. Let's see if uh, I have enough skill and talent,
Oh.
or no, I should say that. I shouldn't say that, or that my team does. But I'm actually happy to be releasing this just in time for the Manhattan Film Festival. So it will. Could you take us through the dates? So, because I'm sure people who are listening to this are going to be curious as to when they can view it and
Yeah,
where.
people can watch it at www.iffmnyc.com starting this November 19 to 22, where they could watch it there, and they could also partly vote as well. So, for those people who are interested to know about this untold story of the southern part of the Philippines, so I encourage everyone to watch it starting November 18 to 22, and hopefully inform other friends as well who are interested about it as well. And actually, I have a lot of other friends who are the member of this Philippines Americans who are really interested of watching it and waiting about it. So fingers crossed. I hope they would love it as well, because I also sort of trying to reach to my Filipino American friends
Yes.
who are really curious and interested to know about the Philippines beyond what we know about it internationally. Because the Philippines are being branded at the image of the people of the North, but the Philippines is more than that. We have a lot of historical stories to tell way down south. Most of the national policy in the Philippines and also the national branding is always through the lenses of the people in the north. Everything the world knows about the Philippines is always how people it's always sort of like it's an image of how people in the north are. So it would be nice to have more information, historical knowledge about the southern part of the Philippines, so that it would balance and it will give a more in-depth idea on that the Philippines is not originally a Catholic country, and the
Yeah.
Philippines is not really. I mean, adobo is not entirely Filipino, but it's a mixture of flavor from the influences of China, of Japan, of US, and Spain and Mexico. So all those kind of things, and it's just good to have it there, and
Yes.
people would have the option to either they get curious and wanted to know more, or they will be happy on what they could learn from it.
Yes. No, absolutely. That's exactly why I wanted to have you back on 8 billion, is so that you would have more of a global viewership, and I could help share your story about that. So it did take you about 2 years to film it, on and off, between all the different sites.
Yes, 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 and I also had to making documentary film is not really my bread and butter. I don't really make like enough money for it, so it's more like a passion project. So
Yeah.
I do other video project on the side, for example, like government agency, or international agencies. Those are the projects that really put food on my table. So with the in Paglayag, it's mostly like I come to fly in, fly out. If I have money and if there's small funding, then I do and I continue and do the research and continue this. So it took me 2 years to do it for this 30 minutes documentary. But I'm happy on how it came out, and it was also a little bit heartbreaking on my part because I did launch it last February before the official lockdown in the Philippines, and it was when you launch a certain film, you spend a lot of money on the promotion,
Yes.
on the screening, bookings, and whatsoever. And suddenly the lockdown happened, and in Panlayag sort of like got stagnant. So I'm happy that started like last July or August. There were already some other festival who still continue with their programs, so they put my film on their program, and I think that's good. Uh, and hopefully this pandemic will be over soon, and so that I could have it screened in more theaters here in the Philippines and also abroad, because
Well,
everything
no,
a little bit difficult
no, I
nowadays.
just want to say to the audience, Rhadem is such a humble soul, and he really he does such great work. And this in Paglayan is a passion project. You'd be amazed at even just watching the trailers. So I encourage all of you to actually. And what I'll do is I'll put the link to where they can watch it in the description box on
and
YouTube.
and 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 I also wanted to add, because I had this sort of like debate with one of my friends, because one of my friends sort of asked me like, why did I sort of like because I had a bit of like logistic support from China. That's why I was able to film it. So there's like a tension with China and the Philippines, and some people
Yeah.
sort of like uh, painting everything that is related to China as something bad. Uh,
Yeah.
and what I did is that, so this Chinese organization in China helped me to be able to have permits and access to film in Shandong province in China. But what I did is that their intention is to establish the contribution of China to the Philippines. So with Infanlayag, it was the reverse. So
It was.
I'm not so sure if my those people who helped me in China was so happy about it. But so far they did not made, they didn't sort of like made any bad reaction. But I felt like probably they're a little bit not okay with it. But that's why I always encourage people to watch the film before they judge it, because
Yes.
people have the tendency like, oh, in the credits area there is this Chinese organization, but those Chinese organizations are just people who help me get the permits and make all the filming in China happen, because I cannot do the filming all by myself. So you need a
Yeah,
bit
absolutely. You can't tell a story.
logistical help. So that's what happened, and I still stand with my principle that uh, the the Philippines is, that the Philippines can be a really good friend to a lot of countries, but I agree that China has been a bit aggressive in these past few years. So that's why it's good to put it out there that it will that it's not that it's not always, because there's always this political propaganda saying that China always contributed a lot to the Philippines, when it turns out before the colonial power came in, the Philippines through the Sultan of Sulu have contributed a lot of other things as well to China. So it wasn't really like China just sort of like the kings of Asia.
I know there is so much controversy surrounding China and its surrounding countries, especially with the Philippines, because everyone's saying, like, China's probably going to take over the world. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of, I think, tension or concern about that, even here in the United States. So I hope that your explanation will help put people to rest at exactly why there was credits there. And like I said, nothing negative to China. It was just the proper credits needed to be done. And
Yes, yes, yes,
oftentimes
yes.
it really does suck when someone judges you without having to watch it just because of the organizations you put there. But hopefully, like I said, with getting this out there, the true message of the history of the Philippines will be told through your story in Paglayan.
I
And I'm
know,
so glad.
and I think it will be a really great representation of my ethno-linguistic group as an indigenous person and also from a Muslim family. This is really important, and I mean, after all this colonial drama here in the Philippines and we got the independence, we still haven't really got the representation and equality and also the acknowledgement that we deserve
Truly deserve.
way in the
Absolutely.
South. Yeah.
I'm always that, and that was the big thing. I started with Kumu as live stream, and I wanted to make my voice bigger for the country. Of course I'm Filipino American, and I last night I did a live stream with someone, and she's Caucasian, and she was born in the Philippines in a missionary family and lived there most of her life. However, she doesn't identify with, when she's here in the United States, she doesn't identify with the culture here. But when she was in the Philippines, she didn't assimilate much. So we were talking about the subject of third culture kid. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with that, but yeah, she was talking about that. So we touched on that in the live stream. But it's a lot, there's a lot of loss in identity, and it's so important that someone like yourself, who is a documentary filmmaker by passion, will share a film or a message to the audience that speaks of the true history of the Philippines. So I'm glad that I'm able to use my platform and my voice to help you do that.
Yes, and thank you so much, Liz, for this opportunity, because I think that there are a lot of Filipino Americans who are really thirsty to know more about their roots and about where their family came from and the entire identity of the Philippines. And so far, some of them have really expressed their support, and hopefully 8 billion podcasts will be able to reach a lot of audience and be able to to watch the
There.
film and at the same time be enlightened about not only the history of the Philippines but also the culture that we somehow slowly forgetting. I mean, we in order for us to create a better future, we always need to sort of appreciate or at least know where we came from. I think that's very essential for us to do it better in the near future.
Yes, absolutely. So, so what I was going to say is 2020, like what you were saying, you were getting ready to launch in Paglayan and the pandemic hit. And 2020 literally is the year where everything stood still because everything was
Oh,
halted, right? And it was almost
yes.
like it asked everyone to kind of turn in because there was nowhere else to turn except for your four walls and yourself. What
Yeah.
was that? What was it like for you during the pandemic? Any big lessons, any big epiphanies for you, or what did it teach you?
Epiphanies.
I told you this would be full of surprises because that's the best part, right?
yeah. You know, the pandemic is overall have shifted the entire landscape of our lives for
Mhm.
many months, and there's no denying that a lot of it have caused us anxiety, depression. We have become lost, and we never felt so alone since the pandemic. And but I think there are lessons as well to learn from. I think, and the pandemic have given us the option, like, to be with ourselves and talk with ourselves, and to assess everything about our life, and to do something, to make this is like our chance to, like, make the changes and talk to ourselves, because
Mhm.
before the pandemic, we really rarely confront our fears. We rarely confront our anxiety or the things that we are insecure about. So we just sort of try to work and make things work out. But the pandemic, despite its ugliness, it has given some, it has given a bit of light, I guess. Personally, I think for me, um, at, at the same time, yeah, after the launching, then the lockdown came. It felt like I was being cheated, or my love of my life broke up with me many times. So it felt like I was sort of having a breakup every week, because since the lockdown, that week, one of my event abroad got canceled, and by next week, one of my event locally got canceled, and this and that. Every week, there's always like cancellation, rejections, and everything, and it took almost 3 months of continuous rejections and cancellations, and that was like, mm.
Wow.
but I, but I think it also made me a little bit stronger, and realize that it isn't really about my film, and it isn't really about me, but we are in this pandemic, and sometimes if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. But of course, we need to work hard for it to be able to, for the film to be able to fly despite the situation that we are in. So now I'm still working on it, and hopefully I will have more screening in Europe by early next year. So fingers
Woohoo!
crossed.
Yes, from
I know,
here.
and I also started painting. Have you
I
seen my
know.
post?
See, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. This is what I'm trying to, this is the message and the stories that I want to bring out. Everyone has a different story. Everyone conquered their fears, went inside, did different things for themselves. And that's why the story is always interesting with every individual that that I get to put on my podcast or on my live stream. And it's neat to ask those special questions that sometimes, what is it, what are those epiphanies that you had, because I'm pretty sure that everyone else had their own things to go through. So it's
We
nice
all
that you,
do.
right? And
All
yours
of
was,
us.
right? And yours was constant rejection for 3 months, when you were at almost, like, imagine the emotional height of releasing In Paglayag, something you worked for 2 years,
For 2 years,
and
and
then shut
suddenly,
down.
boom.
So to actually, right, to actually make it to the Manhattan Film Festival, I'd like to say I was like your good luck charm. Just kidding. Right? Because the day I interviewed you on Kumu is the same day you
Yes,
got the
yes.
email.
Yes, yes, that's true. Yeah, and now I remember. Oh
See,
my
I'm
God, yeah,
telling
that
you. I
you
was like,
were
hold on, Rhadem, we're gonna go places.
you were my good charm.
Right? And then here I am. I'm gonna release this right before In Paglayan. So then there's gonna be, hopefully, it will add to the audience that already is in favor and rooting you on. Right?
Or yes, or we could also organize a private screening when I'm in LA next
Yes,
month.
let's do it. I don't
Yeah,
mind
yeah.
doing it. Yeah, I'm all like, I'm gonna volunteer my brother's house.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, I wonder if the weather permits, because he has a rooftop. He's probably like, why are you talking about me on your podcast? He has a rooftop. But if we do a rooftop, and then we rent the screen, we could
Yes.
probably project it onto there, and we could do a screening. That would be such a good idea.
Yeah, an
Okay.
intimate screening with
Yes.
friends and with
With
social
friends.
distancing.
Social. and it'll be on the rooftop, so it will be, it will be, so we were we're doing safe social practices. My brother's like, you volunteered my whole house. Because he's
He'll
in
be like,
LA. So
what?
yeah, exactly. So Ryan, you're finding out here. We're gonna do a private screening of In Paglayag at your house when Rhadem is in LA this next month. But we were talking about this, Rhadem. What was it like? You just got on a plane. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
everyone wants to.
yeah.
I think there'd be enough podcasts.
Uh,
What's your plane experience? What was that
yeah,
like?
so just to explain to your audience, today was my first time flying since the lockdown, which was last March, April, May, June, July, August. 8 months ago. So this is my first flight since 8 months ago, since the lockdown, and it was so weird. I felt like it was my first time flying.
Wow, it
Yeah,
was.
and
And
I
you
felt.
travel quite a bit. You're a documentary filmmaker. You travel a lot.
Yes, for example, like last year, I've traveled to, I think, 20 to 25 countries all over the world. And the year before that, and the year before that, I always go on tour. But this year, it was like zero.
Zero.
Zero. But yeah, and flying with all the documents, the travel pass, the COVID RT-PCR testing, and all the requirements, the clearance. It was crazy, and we got and interrogated during the check-in booth, and asking us why we are flying, then asking additional documents, and I felt like, oh my god, I'm gonna be rejected.
You really thought
And
that at checking in?
yeah, and I had that impression, but the good thing about it is that I've already felt so much rejection over the past months. So it was just sort of like cool with me, like, okay, we're gonna be rejected. But then we sort of like push it through and was able to fly. And now I'm here in Cebu City with my crew, and we're
So
doing a
you're there for
project.
work.
Yes, I'm here for work, and we have like 1 or 2 days for do something
Do
fun
something fun.
on the beach, and it will be my first beach, my first time to my first time to sort of like swim or be at the shore of the beach after 9 or 10 months. So I was
Wow.
like,
Amazing.
okay,
It's
a
almost
lot
like a
of.
baby, right?
I know, and
It's
I'm
like
so
a
excited
baby
about
when you
it.
put them in water and they're feeling everything,
Like,
they're experiencing everything
yes,
from all five senses.
but it's always good to feel like it's the first time. It make you feel
Alive.
alive. It make you feel new, because before I don't really appreciate the idea of going to the beach. But now I feel like I wanted to go to the beach and appreciate the nature. So there's certain sort of like emotional roller coaster going on, where you tend to appreciate those things that you don't really uh, you,
Appreciate,
you
right?
don't appreciate, or you usually ignore before the pandemic,
Yep.
and now it's just amazing, and my crew are like thinking to fish some fresh fish, and we go to wet market and do some buying and do some bonfire thing, and I was like, okay, that's
Amazing,
a good
right?
that's a good idea. That will be a bit of it will be a first this year for me to do that, and I'm so thankful about it. I mean, after all the drama, the circus, I'm just
Right.
really appreciative of what is happening so far lately. Things are a little bit aligning. Yes, it's still a little bit difficult, but it's not as bad as last March, April, and May.
Yeah, that was tough for everyone on all levels, professionally, personally, internally. It was a
No.
complete reset. I believe that the pandemic was God's reset for the world.
Yeah,
And
and I'm actually happy that Pfizer announced that their new vaccine can protect you 90%. So there's like a 10% chance that you'll
oh
get the
wow.
COVID.
And
But it's
I see you too on IG. You're always constantly testing, right? Or I
yes, I feel like my nose is already the virginized many times. I was like, oh no. And there is this funny story because I have one of my friend here. She had her nose done, so she's always worried to have a swab test inside her nose. So she's like, no, my nose is expensive.
she have the nose job right before the pandemic?
No, no, no. She had a nose job last year.
Oh, okay, but oh yeah, but that's true, right? You can't really touch it or move it so much. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm telling you, everyone everyone had to learn from this. God said, I'm gonna teach you all.
So it's like a punishment all the time, but it's not really like a punishment, like in a bad way anymore. So lately, I've sort of like trying to look at the bright side of everything, so not just get
Yeah.
too depressed and try to work out with my anxiety as well. And trying to sleep early because before the pandemic, I always have awful sleep. So now it's more like it's like I'm going back when I was a kid. Like whenever your mom would tell you like go to sleep early, do this, blah 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 blah. And now I'm happy that I started painting because I always wanted to paint, but I never got a chance to paint before the pandemic. And I'm sort of like a frustrated painter in the inside. I always wanted to paint but never got the chance to paint. And the pandemic have given me the chance to paint. And I just had my exhibition in Makati City last month.
You did. Congratulations. I know,
Yeah,
Rhadem,
I
you're like
had
a
2 weeks.
man of many talents and skills, definitely blessed by God.
No, no.
Right.
We actually need to sort of like find our way to get into the system and not get too dragged down until we get drowned. We just need to. I hate the word resilience, but we need to sort of like be strong and at the same time embrace our weaknesses and finding out ourselves and finding our inner strength. And sometimes you would be shocked that you have certain things that you didn't know that you are really good with. So yeah, I'm so happy about it. I actually sold 4 paintings already, which is quite weird
Wow.
because I felt like my paintings are too basic, but some of the people sort of like bought it. I was like, okay.
Basic.
Okay,
Hashtag basic.
if you're going to buy it, I don't really think that it's that great, but it feels good when people appreciate what you do. Uh, yeah, yeah. I'm actually really happy about it. And now I'm starting to plant. So, I'm doing a
Ooh,
small
we could do
garden.
when you're here. We could do either do a painting thing or you remember. I don't know if you've heard or if you guys have it in the Philippines. Do you guys do wine paintings, like wine and paint?
Oh, I have
They do that here. They do that here. So you paint like with there's an instructor, and then you drink wine and you paint.
Oh yeah, we have that. We have that. Yeah, we have that here, but only one shop where you paint and you drink wine and
Yes.
you just get drunk and later on you sort of like imagine things and do something great or whatsoever. I actually like that idea. I think that is therapeutic. I actually tried painting once while drinking a little bit in moderation. and it was actually
Okay,
good
for the podcast. Just kidding.
for the podcast.
Just for the podcast, I'll let you say that. Just kidding.
No, so yeah, yeah.
So it's but even before that, Rhadem, you were even following your passion years back. Was there anything that triggered your passion, or a time in your life where you just said, like, I'm gonna start doing this, where like in Paglayag, you did it, like you said, more of a passion project.
Oh,
Was there a time in your life that you just started doing things more passionately and more purposefully? Because look, it's paying off, obviously.
well, I'm not so sure if I mentioned this, but I'm really thankful of my last breakup 7 years ago, because that was sort of like the the thing that empowered me to leave working on resign or stop working on TV and started freelancing and being an independent filmmaker and doing advocacy project and at the same time documentary project. I was so lost and heartbroken, and that led me on in finding my inner strength that I never knew that I had. I was so used in working on TV and doing drama series, and suddenly now I'm doing documentary. So it's good. It's actually good. It was a
It
good
is.
turning point.
No, it is. And I've done so many interviews, even just this year already. And a turning point for everyone was triggered by pain.
Oh
And then
no.
isn't it crazy how sometimes the pain, I mean, of course, you'll never see the whole process of the person, right? Because it's like an interview. But it's the pain, and then all of a sudden it triggers crazy, like things like more purpose, more creativity. Because I mean, I'm pretty sure the psychology is really neat, like probably trying to, but where's the psychology? Because a lot of passion comes from the heart, and
Yeah,
that's,
and I'm actually thankful because there are a lot of cases where people experience pain and the result was not that good. They became worse. So I'm happy that in some ways my pain sort of like made me a bit of money and new profession.
right, right. You never know. That's what I kept telling people during the pandemic. I had no clue I was even going to go down the live streaming or even podcasting route. But I kept telling people in my IG stories, I was like, you guys, this is the time to turn in and find your creativity, or like at least spark it. Do something with it, because it could turn into something. I had no clue mine was talking and interviewing people and telling stories. I became an orator, I should say, like an oracle. It was weird.
But actually, I'm really amazed that you're doing you're very dedicated with this podcast thing, because I had a lot of other friends and networks who are telling me to start vlogging, to start doing podcasts and live stream. I kind of tried, but I felt like I'm so used behind the camera. I was like,
Yeah,
No, that's not my thing."
that's not your thing. Well, that's what I'm seeing. I had no clue when I turned it on that's what it was going to be. What ended up becoming more of what I ended up doing was I was trying to look for people like you, spotlight them, talk about, and that's exactly, like that's what I was thinking it was going to help me create a nonprofit organization or foundation. What it did was, what I was doing was what I ended up having a skill set for doing. So it was crazy, because that's been my thing. I just love connecting with people. And so I ask so many questions and I get really cool answers.
And I think it's really inspiring and at the same time empowering. You know, that a lot of live streamers out there and a lot of vloggers out there and some influencer or whatsoever, what they always try to do is always take advantage and take up so much space but what you do is that you made yourself an echo chamber for others. So
I
I think it's a
did.
really good thing.
I did. And I'm trying to build the network so then it keeps, it keeps growing and growing. So, and like I said, I might not necessarily the audience that this gets to eventually with time as you create like more content and more videos. Who knows if someone sees this maybe even 2 years later. But if it, if the story resonates then, or maybe this library of stories helps someone go down their path, that's exactly what I'm hoping that it will do, you know?
Well, I I I think if we are passionate about things, uh, we just do it. And of course, if we will be recognized and or somebody will support it, it's actually really a good thing. But if it's more like a passion, I think it's waiting is not really a problem because you're actually enjoying it and you don't really consider it as a work. And
Yeah.
later on, once things go in place, and that's the time we're in, people start supporting it, watching it, and some other companies funding it and whatsoever. You know, it was also difficult when I was starting. But I sort of just did it because I was heartbroken and I felt like, okay, I'll just gonna do a lot of advocacies until the until that, because I felt like so I have I have so much love to give, so I would
Me
rather
too.
give it. So and uh, well, okay, I was a little bit supported by my parents while I was unemployed during my breakup.
Right, but that's basically what you're trying to say is that sometimes you might not you use the love that you have and you use it in creative efforts either through documentary filmmaking, maybe even painting in the recent times, but now you see the fruits of its labor because love really is an energy that transcends far beyond, like,
No.
right? Isn't it? Oh my gosh, it's really cool. That's what I'm saying. All of this was triggered by the pain of the death of my mom, relationships, and it allowed me to turn inside and then love myself first. And when I loved myself first and found true happiness, I could be better giver. And so now this is the manifestation at which what the true inner work has done.
Yeah, I know, and actually, that's really the amazing thing about it is that we never let this pain drag us down to the depths of hell, but we sort of like use it to become a better person or find ourselves and hopefully find a new love
Yes,
and be
absolutely.
hopeful and cling to that hope.
When you're not
Yeah,
looking, that's when they come. That's what they say. But it's true. When you're busy doing other things, it comes in from like, from left field, they say.
I
You know.
know.
But I want to, okay, I know I said I'm full of surprises, but I did want, you posted this as a Monday thought, and I'm going to probably leave you with this.
Oh my
You,
God! Yeah, okay, yeah, okay.
right? Okay, everyone. If you ever go to Rhadem's Instagram page, this was really touching for me. It said, I used to walk into the front line of everything that I do, and whatever I'm given the chance, I always take the small spotlight to my advantage. But since the pandemic, I made a choice to step on the side and let others lead, occupy the space I once dominated, and echo their voices by passing the mic. And since then, I started feeling happier. I'm having less anxieties. I worry less of what people think of me. I started painting and I'm enjoying seeing colleagues, friends excelling in what they do best while I stay behind cheering for them. Sometimes happiness is not about taking up space, but creating more room so others may get an opportunity to grow.
Yeah,
That
I
was
was
so
so
beautiful.
I was so sentimental when I wrote that, and it was sort of just like a one night wherein I had so much realization about life, and I feel like now I've never been so happier and free. Like if you notice some of my I- IG stories and Facebook posts, I keep on posting of me dancing and doing crazy things, which I never do way back. I mean, way back, I'm sort of like, okay, I need to be prim and proper. People need to look to see me this way because I'm a filmmaker. I need to be serious. I need to be this and that, this and that, this and that, and that created more, uh, you know, more prison cells instead of making me feel more freer to do all the things what I want creatively. So and now I'm so happy because we just got a funding from uh, two big organizations, and I think I mentioned the one which is from Google. So what I did is that Google contacted me, and that one Dutch organization contacted me, and they wanted to give funding. And what I did is that I passed it to other organizations that I felt needed it, and I felt, I mean, I could have accepted the offer and sort of did it myself and do the program and put all my face all over there, but what I did is that it was quite, I felt like I felt so brave when I rejected Google and I rejected that Dutch organization and recommended them and pass it to other organization that really needs their support. Then now they are funding, that one organization will be giving $25,000 grant to that organization.
Wow.
And they were so happy about it because they are trying to help people who are abandoned because of their HIV and AIDS status. So I'm so happy about it. And the Google part is with giving more relief operation to the people who are still affected by the pandemic. And I told the organization, just okay, just use my name there and just put it there and just do the program. And I don't want to be part of it. Don't put my face there. Don't put my name there. And I was so happy about it because it's what you call this? It's hard for me to explain. But I feel like passing this opportunity to others so others could improve themselves and be able to do something greater, it's actually nice. And you are just on the side and seeing them doing great, and you're sort of having like a parental or big brother moment,
Yeah.
damn,
And
I'm
then
so proud of
isn't it
them.
neat? I'm so proud of you, Rhadem, for doing that because that's what life is about, right? We never take the moments, or people give and want people to see that they give. So you know that the intention truly behind it is not really giving because what you're expecting something back, right? In return, whether it's to say, oh, put me on camera because I donated all of this. It's donating from the goodness of your own heart, right? Because you know someone needs something. And when that momentum takes place, it's crazy. Like it just grows exponentially. And that's what I'm hoping happens with the messages that I put out on the podcast.
But it actually really felt good seeing others succeed. I think it's more or less like I'm doing it for myself in some ways. Uh I just sort of like it, it's hard for me to explain. It's I just find joy when people are doing a lot of amazing things because I feel like in the Philippines a lot of people uh a lot of people, most of them are poor not because they are lazy or what or whatsoever, but the opportunity is not there. So if you could sort of create an opportunity for others and give others a chance or a platform, I think that's a really nice thing to do. And at the same time, address the inequality that is happening in the country, at least in small things. I mean, I don't think I have helped some community that much, but I try my best to be at least, be of service or be of help without being in the forefront. And now I'm just so happy having my dance video.
Right?
and, and I don't care about what people think. And people actually say like, "Oh, Rhadem, you're getting crazy. You're posting a lot of things." But I was actually happy, which is weird.
No, that's
I'm
crazy because
happier.
I was either it was either in another podcast or I was having a conversation where they're just like stop giving a stop giving a fuck about what other people think. And then when they did stop doing that, they started living from a place that was, they started living from a place of true joy.
I know. I know that is so true.
Yeah, when you stop giving a fuck about what other people think. I'm all thinking about like saying fuck on my podcast, but I know a lot of podcasters cuss, so I think I'm okay. I'm okay, and plus it's in the
Your
middle of
editor can edit this one and
yeah,
remove all the cursing.
yeah, they can remove all the cursing as long, yeah. But yeah, I think those are the epiphanies that people are starting to have, and even me myself. When I stop thinking about what others think and I live from true joy, my life is just exponentially better.
And and I also think it's really essential for people to be given the chance to just be crazy sometimes.
Yep.
Uh, there are certain l- lessons to be learned from mistakes and from being crazy or whatever. As long as they're not harming anybody, I think just let them do what makes them happy,
What makes them happy?
and be happy for them.
Yes, absolutely. No.
And also, congratulations that your election is kind of done. Is it? No.
Well, it is. I mean, Biden has reached 270 electoral votes, and therefore he is our new president elect. However, there's a lot of media, or what they like to call fake news, from the Trump party that is saying that they want to do a recount. So we were fortunate enough that I think everyone was kind of bracing. The nation was bracing itself for another riot and all this kind of stuff, but we seem to have handled it pretty well so far. So I'm really proud of
I was
my
so
fellow
invested with your
Americans.
election.
I'm sorry.
I was so invested in your election.
Yeah, I know. I think everyone around the world was. I mean, it feels like we were literally a nation divided. I mean, the numbers were so, you know what
I
I'm talking about?
know.
So it was,
Did-
I'm really proud to be an American and represent. I'm also proud to be a Filipino American and be able to represent and be a voice on that platform. So I'm just hoping that this just becomes the beginning for both of us, Rhadem,
Yes, I
right?
know.
I think
Because
2021 is our year.
yes, 2021, I'm looking forward for a better year. If if ever it won't going to be a better year, I hope I could still manage it and survive just like what I did this year.
Right.
And hopefully many people could also do it as well. They just need to prepare more, and there are a lot of news about new virus and health issue coming out again. So I was like,
I
okay,
know.
can we end this now? I mean, it's been a year.
Right. I know. It just seems, I feel like it is. I know that the numbers are going up, they said in Europe, but I'm hoping that, you know, that the numbers start going down and we could start, or at least a vaccine gets released. But I also have my opinions on vaccines because.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to avail the vaccine, but
Do
I
you want to
told myself,
volunteer, Rhadem?
no, 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 no. I told myself like I will definitely take the vaccine, but I will let other people try it first.
I'll let people go first in line, right? I feel the same way.
They go first, and if things works out, okay, I will
Then
definitely
I'll
do it.
go.
Because I always believe with effectivity of vaccine, but of course there are certain issue with vaccine. But I think having a vaccine is always essential for us to get protected. Because, for example, I always have a flu vaccine. I always have a vaccine for he- hepatitis and everything. And so far, I never had sort of like flu, hepatitis ever. So I felt it was effective. So with COVID, I hope it will turn out to be okay. And I'm so excited to get vaccinated and to be able to travel without having a face mask and face shield.
I know. I know. We are definitely living in different times, but I do hope that this just becomes the beginning of a better humanity, people treating each other better,
I
and
know.
just accepting everyone.
I know, and I think you are really right about that. That this is the time where people come together and understand each other. There's just so much hate in the world, and I feel so bad because we are fighting a pandemic, and I think having one voice and helping each other would bring so much change. But the world is just so divided sometimes. So I'm actually really happy that you're having a lot of these programs that inform other people on the things that other people do for other people. That's sort of like redundant. But we just need more platform like this, and we also need people like you and myself, I guess. I don't know. because
Right?
I'm because I'm not that active in the humanitarian lately. All the potential project, I just pass it to other people because I feel like they need it, and I also need a break
Right.
from all the drama in the world and assisting myself. And so far things are doing well. I'm actually feeling great, and I have a lot of friends and families who are very supportive, and you are, and I'm so
Right.
excited to see you
To
this
see it.
December.
Yes, I know. I know. Definitely. I'm so excited to spend some time with you, but I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of the audience of 8 Billion Project, and podcast, I should say, for coming on the show, sharing the release of In Paglayan. So I am praying for you, and I will actually put that down in the description boxes of any of the platforms that I post this on. So please watch it, learn from it, and if you feel inclined, please vote for it, right? Because the public can vote for it, right, Rhadem?
Yes, they could. And I also wanted to say maraming salamat, Lisa, and also sobrang maraming salamat to 8 Billion Podcast for having me tonight. What time is it there? I mean, okay, it's midnight here. Uh, but it really feels good to be here and also to be able to discuss with you, and it's good that the discussion went
Went well,
smoothly.
huh? Right? No, it did.
I was a little bit pressured. I was like, okay, what's gonna happen with this?
I know, no, I just really wanted to be able to share in Paglayan because it's made it to the Manhattan Film Festival, but as well as just have a great conversation with you because I want people to get to know you on a more, personal level, because I think that's where I think the human connection starts to happen, right? When they know these people that do amazing films are just regular normal people, and there's regular normal things that drive you guys. So yeah, but thank you again, Rhythm. I look forward to seeing you next month. And
Salamat,
hopefully this
Lisa.
will only be the one of many other podcasts we'll do to share our, what you're going to be doing in the future.
Salamat, Bagsukul, and Shukran. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, 8 Billion Podcast, and to all your audience.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next show.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If it's moved you in any way, please review and share your thoughts or text me your thoughts at 949-247-2800.